Happy Wednesday from the Vegas Strip at the Four Seasons. Strat has been sold. April Fools is happening. Temporary casinos. And what is it like to stay here? All of that coming up right now on this Wednesday solo show. Well, happy April Fool's Day. I hope everybody out there is having a great day, and I hope you didn't get overloaded with all these terrible April Fool's Day memes and everything else. But I saw a few this morning. Maybe there's more that I hadn't caught. Starting with Durango, they have their next act, the amphitheater with the acrobatic show Iron Balance. Looks like construction workers. I don't know. This one kind of went over my head a bit, but they are constantly under construction. I also like the Strat Sky Ride. This sort of reminds me of that coaster that they had once proposed for the side of the building coming all the way down. What about a water slide? 1,000 feet, did that fool you? But Four Queens and Binions, I think they had a couple of them. They had Whiskey Liquor saying they're going to speed it up, but then they had this Queenians thing with the weird bridge that they are putting over Fremont Street, I guess. Forget about the canopy, whatever it is. But that's April Fools, and Vegas casinos like to do it. I'm sure there's more. This morning I didn't see them, but make sure to leave your favorites down in the comments below. A great tradition here. I'm hoping there's better ones. I didn't love this. I mean, Four Queens, they're trying to do overtime here with extra ones, maybe one a year. That would be pretty good. But let's talk VICI and Strat. VICI is the company that owns so many of the Las Vegas Strip properties, including most that are owned by MGM and Caesars on the Strip. And they also have casinos in other markets. But one of the areas that they've been talking about is the local market and getting out of the Strip gaming market. And they're very happy with the regulators here. And you would think, as a company that owns a lot of land under casinos, that some of the changes in the regulatory environment and these new sort of markets that have opened up would be a challenge to them. But they say they like Nevada because Nevada is going to fight against that type of stuff. But specifically, they also are buying Golden Entertainment's land, and that's the land under Strat, a couple casinos in Pahrump, the Arizona Charlie's casinos here, the Aquarius in Laughlin. And we talked about that on the show last year. $1.17 billion is the purchase price. And while that has not closed yet, it'll close in the second quarter, it has now been approved by Golden Entertainment. And as a reminder how this is all going to work, the operations are going to be taken private. And so this company will no longer be traded as a publicly traded company. The land will go to VICI, and they will own more of the Las Vegas Strip and more casino markets, more land, and just another company. It's sort of interesting to see a mid-tier company or a smaller gaming operator really move into this direction. And Golden Entertainment owns a lot of PT's pubs, a lot of other stuff that they are keeping in addition to all of this. But this is a sign of the times, and it has been approved. So that means that starting in Q2, Strat is going to be under VICI along with so many MGM and Caesars properties. What do you think? Well, I am sitting high above the Las Vegas Strip, and specifically I have an A's ballpark view, and we've got a couple of new views of the ballpark this week as they are moving on, I think, to the fourth level of steel on the structure of the ballpark. So it does indeed start to look like a ballpark. I mean, you can definitely see the stadium here. And from my perspective over here at Four Seasons, you can really see just how little the land is that Bally's will have to work with. It really gives you a great perspective on this. Maverick Helicopters has had some great shots this week, aerial shots from the helicopter as well. And you can see that they're definitely making progress here. It's definitely looking like a stadium, and I'm really enjoying this. The MGM Grand view a few weeks ago, this view now, some of the Hard Rock guitar views too. You can see the guitar tower all the way from Four Seasons. So some new views coming to Las Vegas. And one interesting quirk about casinos in Las Vegas and what you need to do is you have to keep your license active. And so if you close a casino and you want to keep the license, then you need to run a temporary casino. And that's exactly what's happening with Bally's at the Tropicana site this week. I think this closes tomorrow, and it's open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you can get there before Thursday, do it. I am going to try to get there and cover it on the Friday show, what exactly it is like over there. But I think there's parking, Vital Vegas said, so you can park on the dirt lot at the stadium site. I think it's worth visiting just for that. But also some old machines, of course, no drink service, no players club, none of that sort of stuff, just running machines so that they can keep their license. I don't think they care too much if you show up, but this is one of the more unique temporary casinos, and this is a quirk that we've covered on the show for a long time. I think a lot of people who love Vegas are interested in this, the novelty of going to a temporary casino, and this one is branded to Bally's. They got the sign on the outside, so when are you ever going to go to a unique Bally's? I think a lot of people making fun of the company saying that this is really the future of how their casinos are going to go, just being in a trailer. I think that's a little cruel, but here you go. The stadium's coming along, a lot moving forward, and a temporary casino for you on this April Fool's Day. In a minute, I am going to talk about my Four Seasons room and tell you a review about what I think about it. But before I do that, I'd love to invite you to subscribe. Thousands of you are watching the show aren't subscribed. Just hit the button, doesn't cost anything, helps us out a lot. But here I am at the Four Seasons recording this in the Four Seasons room. And Four Seasons is part of the Mandalay Bay complex, also home of the W. And this is probably the quieter of all the resorts here, sort of set aside with its own private entrance and private lobby, has its own private driveway, but also you can access it fairly easily from near the casino. There's this secret door near the other elevators for the other towers, and then a long walkway if you want to go all the way to the lobby, but a very separate space. And I think that's important if you want to be here, but also kind of be separated and not among the masses. Now, I booked a MX Fine Hotels and Resorts stay here, and it was about $300, not including the resort fee, and I used a $300 credit from the Amex Platinum card, and that gets us $150 spa credit. My wife's enjoying a pedicure as we speak. Also, $75 worth of breakfast. It's supposed to be breakfast for two. I mean, $75 really didn't cover the entire breakfast, but it was about $100 with tip and everything out the door, but still pretty good there. Late checkout, early check-in, really great service at check-in too, and just a very nice property. If you've ever stayed at a Four Seasons, you expect pretty good service, and you absolutely will get that. Now, we did get a slight upgrade to a strip view room from the base room. And just something kind of quirky is that some of the rooms are 500 square feet and some of them are 560 square feet. And the ones on the strip side are a little bit smaller. So you're going to kind of do a trade-off on room size. They all have separate showers and tubs, pretty decent sized bathroom, but I think you're going to find rooms at Venetian Palazzo, Wynn, Encore to be more spacious and feel a little bit nicer. I would say this compares pretty well to the Waldorf Astoria, although the location of that I would probably prefer. But this is very South Strip, very quiet. Having breakfast out at the Veranda restaurant, you're out by the private Four Seasons pool, which you get as well. And you also get access to all of the Mandalay Bay sort of stuff. So that's also good. And you got the strip view. This strip view is pretty magical. I mean, just think about some of the views from Foundation Room and some of these sort of iconic views from the Mandalay Bay building down the strip. And you really do have that. You can see the guitar all the way in the distance. You can see the stadium, as I talked about before. But how is the room? First off, let's talk beds, because I think Four Seasons does beds better than most places. I would say the pillows are fantastic. The bed is divine. You're going to sleep really well here if you decide to spend a little bit more money. And I think that's really the trade-off here, right? You can get rooms at Mandalay Bay for maybe 1/5, 1/6 the cost. And the standard rooms at Mandalay Bay are basically the same size, even bigger. On most of them, they also have tubs and showers. So you're kind of trading up for that exclusivity and perhaps a little bit of a nicer room. Although I would say that doesn't stand out as unique in the way that some of the other rooms I really like. Again, Wynn, I'm going to go back to those rooms. Those were very divisive, but some very unique sort of stuff. Expensive mini bar, fairly modern sort of striped carpet, although that pattern is much more common these days. I would say altogether a pretty decent luxury hotel room. My real problem here is the location, and I just don't know if the value is there compared to staying at Mandalay Bay, especially with the pool. I mean, do you want the small private pool? Maybe, but you probably also want to go out to the wave pool, to the wider complex. But if you're looking for something a little bit more refined, and then also the location, very easy, you're kind of on the strip, but very easy to get in and out of here. And I think that is appealing. So I'm kind of excited. I've been wanting to stay at the Four Seasons for a long time, and it's kind of one of the few that I hadn't been on the Las Vegas Strip. I stayed at the W/Delano many, many times, stayed in the proper tower, and I think if the price is right, the W, that is probably my favorite sort of place to stay here. But there's nothing wrong with Four Seasons. It just comes at a premium, and you got to really enjoy the brand for that. But as you see, this room is great. The service has been excellent, whether it's down in the restaurant or at check-in. We also had Citizens for dinner last night, which isn't part of all of this, but it's in Mandalay Bay. Another solid dinner, pretty good burger. We had a Cobb salad. We shared all of that, and they are on in-kind, so that was kind of cool as well. But chime in. What do you think about this room? Have you seen these rooms? Do you think this measures up? Is it as nice as you would expect given the premium of price for this property? And I would say the closest comparable is Waldorf Astoria. Do you prefer that location, that property with its own standalone building just feet from the strip compared to this where you're going to walk a bit to get everywhere? Let me know down in the comments. But overall, nothing bad to say here. Would I go out of my way to stay here over a place like Waldorf or Wynn? Probably not. But let's move on to some heartbreak from Corey Leviton. And I guess this comes from Vital Vegas as well. He's mentioned as a source in the article, but we all know the story about Lefty Rosenthal, not at the Plaza Casino as is depicted in Casino, but at the Tony Roma's on Sahara, as we talked about recently on a show. And the big story has always been that there's a metal plate in the 1981 Cadillac, and that is what saved Lefty Rosenthal's life. Indeed, it's repeated in the movie Casino, and I think it comes from the book Casino, and it seems like it's all made up. And Corey is dispelling this myth. This one hurts because we've all said it, we've all repeated it. And apparently Lefty was just half in and half out of the car. Just got lucky that he wasn't fully inside. People helped him get out before the car exploded and burst into flames up in the air. I guess this show called Motor Mythbusters actually busted this myth by getting one of those Cadillacs, seeing that there was no metal plate. There's no coverage of the metal plate. Isn't it crazy how somebody can just make something up, or it seems like that's the case. We don't really know who made this up, but that becomes part of the zeitgeist, and then we all repeat it, and then Corey has to come along years later and just dispel the myth and take it all away from us. We liked our little metal plate story. No, I don't know. I mean, did you guys know that this was true or not true? What else from the movie Casino? I bet you there's other things in Casino the book, Casino the movie that are fake that we still say are true. But there's so many of these. What are your favorite Vegas myths that have been dispelled where you hear somebody say that and you're like, no? I mean, things like obviously windows are showing up in casinos, the fact that they pump oxygen in, these sorts of things. But there's got to be more. Let me know down below. But let's close with this. Super Bowl LXIII, I think that's 63, is officially coming to Las Vegas in 2029. I think it's cool that the last Super Bowl was LVIII. But anyway, 63 is coming back, as we talked about. This was sort of hinted at, and it seemed like it was mostly a done deal. And indeed it was. I mean, they made a big show at Allegiant Stadium sort of announcing this. So it seems like they had already made the decision, and then they wanted the big media rollout here. And I think this is actually a big deal for a few reasons. This really does solidify Las Vegas in the lineup. We got the first Super Bowl because we have a new team, we have a new stadium, but this is indication that Las Vegas will be in the permanent rotation, which they have sort of said before, but this is the first time we get on the schedule Las Vegas for a Super Bowl that wasn't promised before. I think Las Vegas delivered a great Super Bowl as far as different activations around town, the fan events, all of the different stuff. I went to one of the pre-events at Allegiant Stadium, which was incredible. I know the Mandalay Bay Convention Center had a huge fan fest going on. And then there was stuff all over the strip, the Paramount Mountain over at Mirage, rest in peace to the volcano over there. There was just things everywhere all around town. And I think that's what the NFL wants. And I know this last Super Bowl in Santa Clara or San Francisco didn't go as well. And so maybe there's more focus on not just the game and the city, but what the city can deliver as far as experience for the guests when everybody comes. In Las Vegas does that right, whether it's F1, whether it's Super Bowl, and whether it's good or not. We like to complain about some of the stuff and the impact and all of that. Speaking of which, I think we're getting close to F1 season again. But at the end of the day, these are huge events that take a lot of coordination and a city that can pull it off with big venues and staff that knows how to do this. And they just did it right, top to bottom. Who can forget the Doritos Luxor Pyramid? What kind of money are we going to get here? I mean, they did special activations all over the strip. New York. I remember out by the Brooklyn Bridge. There were so many, and I think that we're going to get that again, and this is the perfect city for it. But nothing beats the Dorito chip Luxor Pyramid, and just another indication, Las Vegas, mainstream here, big time in sports. NBA team coming now, or, it's kind of like the Super Bowl last week, the announcement. We don't know officially, but it does seem like the NBA team is coming, and big time sports in Las Vegas. This is the future. This is what they're betting on. They're also betting on things like VICI saying, hey, we're going to keep some of these new markets out and protect Las Vegas. And the future is bright. That's what they say. And we've looked at the numbers, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about everything we talked about, the Super Bowl, the A's stadium, all that steel, 4 levels. I mean, are you finally believing that this stadium is going to happen? The room at the Four Seasons, do you like staying here? What's your favorite ultra luxury property in Las Vegas? Let me know down in the comments. We do 3 shows a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and I'll be back in a couple days with a show with Mark. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.